The Henry County Jail is bleeding money.
Almost daily I get a report from the jailer and the sheriff's office about different problems every day. Most of them are structural, whether it be the walls, the floors, the sewer stopping up, electrical wiring, plumbing. It has really become kind of a money pit.
Problems that are costing the county tens of thousands of dollars to fix. Judge Money is looking for a proverbial tourniquet.
If the choices are, and there are only two choices, stay with what we have, spend the money we have to do to keep it safe, to keep it compliant with laws, or look at building what we need to build, then obviously I'm going to be for the latter.
Sheriff Will Maddox agrees, saying the 80-year-old jail is long overdue for an update, and the current problems will only get worse.
Before you start putting a lot of money into a building that's not going to be adequate in the future, I think we need to be looking toward building a new jail before it is mandated that we have to.
But Judge Money says the hardest part of getting a new correctional facility will be convincing Henry County residents to pay for it.
The elephant in the room is the money. I think most citizens, if they really take a step back and look at the situation, if they were in our shoes, faced with what we're facing with the jail, I think they would say, we got to find a way to do this, and we got to do it right.
A solution which could save the county a bundle. In Abbeville, Chastity Maxie, WTVY, your hometown news leader. Well, Reg and Devin, there were actually 6 cases of whooping cough diagnosed at Extendicare, 3 residents and 3 employees. They've all been treated and have since fully recovered. But the Houston County Health Department says the rehabilitation center isn't the only place where whooping cough has popped up. It's been about 2 weeks since the first case of whooping cough showed up at Extendicare.
We were notified that we had someone that had visited the building that had tested positive. We did do initial survey throughout the building, and that initial survey did turn up a few cases of whooping cough.
Administrators and staff worked swiftly to contain the virus, treating all 6 patients with antibiotics.
We have 2 infection control nurses that work here, and they immediately called the health department and initiated the protocol, and we did our screening and monitoring at that time.
Extendicare says there are no active cases of pertussis in their building at this time. However, it is important to note that pertussis is highly contagious and spreads easily from person to person.
In our Wiregrass area, we have 11 confirmed cases. We have the 6 cases at the extended care, and we have 5 confirmed cases that are out in the community in Henry and Houston counties.
State Health Department Southeastern District Director of Nursing, Jonna Cotton, says while this number is concerning, there's no cause for alarm.
It's common for pertussis to occur anywhere. It can occur in schools, nursing homes, hospitals, anywhere. If one person has pertussis, they can spread it through their cough and sneeze.
So how do you prevent becoming another statistic? Healthcare professionals recommend frequently washing your hands to prevent the spread of all germs and viruses, including pertussis. And if you're feeling under the weather and you know you're going to be visiting a nursing home or you're going to be around small children, you may want to stay at home if you're feeling under the weather. But if you're around those populations regularly, there's one more option you may want to consider.
The best way to prevent it is vaccination.
Pediatrician for Dothan Pediatrics, Dr. Michael Ramsey, says pertussis is rarely deadly, but it can cause other serious problems in infants and the elderly.
They can have respiratory distress from it. There are cases of elderly people breaking ribs from the cough. So it's something that can be a significant illness.
As for Extendicare, everyone is relieved the outbreak wasn't too serious and that they can now get back to normal operations. Your name and spell it. There are 2 vaccines which protect against pertussis: DTaP for children up to 6 years of age and Tdap for people 7 years of age and older. We'll have more information on the vaccines and who should get them over on our website, WTVY.com. Devin?
They're working on it to assess the situation and to secure it and do what is needed to be done to transport it away from here.
The Sheriff Wally Olson is talking about is a pipe bomb that was found inside the sheriff's office Tuesday evening. After evacuating the building, the Dothan Bomb Squad was called in. Sheriff Wally Olson tells me that investigators were serving a search warrant for a duffel bag, and unbeknownst to them, they brought the pipe bomb inside the building.
We didn't know it was there, yes. We were processing evidence that we had recovered in an ongoing homicide investigation.
Thankfully, the building was virtually empty with the exception of the dispatch staff. Emergency calls were rerouted to Houston County 911. And Sheriff Olson says the evidence is part of an ongoing murder-homicide investigation. While he couldn't give specifics on the case,
I can say this has nothing to do with the Beasley Hollett murder.
Making for another busy night for law enforcement after a series of hectic days. In Ozark, Chastity Maxie, WTVY, your hometown news leader. It's an eyesore driving down some roads in Houston County. On any given day, water bottles, cans, wrappers, and other debris strewn about the streets. Houston County Commissioner Doug Sinkfield says the problem is worse on the roads less traveled.
Just people can discard their litter out and not be seen by the public, maybe, and so those areas out in the rural areas seem to be the most litter that we're having to deal with.
Now I'm here on Sanitary Dairy Road, and the irony of that is this area right here is anything but sanitary, and that's why the Houston County Commission wants people to adopt a highway so things like this won't happen. The Houston County Department of Corrections used to allow trustees to pick up trash along county roads, but that became more of a liability for the county if an inmate got hurt. Now the county is turning to us to volunteer, and Sinkfield says it only takes a few to make a big difference.
We would like to start out with 5. That's not a lot right now. We would like to increase that and grow, but if we could just get 5 to start, maybe in 1 in each district, in their districts that we have, we have 4 districts here, but it would be very beneficial, I think.
And let's not forget there's a hefty penalty for tossing garbage out your window.
There's a fine, and there's a steep fine after about the 3rd offense. So it's against the law, and we just need to catch those that are doing it.
But it's not just about catching offenders. Sinkfield says it's more about taking pride in your community.
I know it's an ongoing problem, but we believe that's one of the ways to get our citizens involved that care really about the beautification of Houston County.
Keeping our roads cleaner 1 mile at a time. In Houston County, Chastity Maxie, WTVY, your hometown news leader. Regin Devon, the United States Department of Agriculture announced it will reopen the Farm Service Agency's offices starting tomorrow. The FSA is a division of the USDA that provides financial assistance to farmers. This reopening is important to farmers who rely on the FSA for resources needed for the upcoming planting season, especially in wake of the trade war with China. Now farmers will be able to start conducting the business they'd been delayed in as a result of the government shutdown.
The other reason that is important is because of what we call the Market Facilitation Program is a program that USDA implemented through the administration to help on the trade assistance as a result of the tariffs that were implemented. So with the offices opening back up, farmers will be able to finish up those applications and hopefully get some much needed assistance as a result of some of those tariffs that went into place too with China.
The Director of Governmental and Agricultural Programs for the Alabama Farmers Federation, Brian Hardin, says excessive rain over the past few months has made it difficult for farmers to get crops out of the field. He says the government shutdown presented more challenges because they weren't able to wrap up many of the tasks they needed to complete to see what yields they had in order to apply for certain programs. So these offices opening back up tomorrow will help them apply for that assistance as it relates to the crops this past year. Devin?
Again, it flies in the face of all logic and all facts. I'm at a loss.
Pontiac Mayor Scott McCoy is trying to keep a cool head, even though just Friday he learned the prison in his city is closing. His passion is obvious.
There's no question this is political. You have the facts, the figures, the reports, everything says it's a bad idea and you still do it.
And cries throughout the community are also being heard.
I think it's terrible.
Why?
This is going to affect this community.
Well, I know a lot of people that work at the prison, and they're putting a lot of people out of work. And there's not that much work in Pontiac the way there is.
After Caterpillar, the prison is Pontiac's second largest employer. And with the slumpy economy, about 600 of the prison's employees have to come up with a plan B to keep a roof over their heads. Many are pointing the finger at the governor.
Well, I think it's a one-man decision, strictly the governor. There's supposed to be a system of checks and balances in our state, but nobody's checking him.
Governor Blagojevich first considered closing the Pontiac Correctional Center back in May. Then it was merely a suggestion to help balance the budget. He said he would only close the facility as a last resort. But come December 31st, it's lights out at the Pontiac prison. McCoy says the state will lose more than $50 million as a result. He says $20 million of that could go to Iowa, and here's why. He says Thompson, where some of the prisoners are supposed to go, is a small Illinois town, so most of the employees will end up moving across the border to Iowa. That has him questioning the governor's logic.
If I had the governor here, I would just kind of ask him, what the hell are you doing?
And that's a question many others are wondering too. In Pontiac, Chastity Maxie, HOI 19 News. Stan Coors was a bit hesitant about investing his money with Illinois Commonwealth.
And with the way everybody's being ripped off nowadays, you've got to be very cautious.
But with the economy in such turmoil and his 401k cut by nearly a third, he decided to take a gamble on the company.
But I was just a little cautious because the interest rate was 12%, which was a lot higher than the stock market and CDs and et cetera. So that's why I was very cautious. And I thought, well, if this one pan out, then I'd invest more.
So he invested back in June, and he says he hasn't seen his $2,000 since. He tried tracking his account online, but the username and password he was given doesn't work. And the last time he heard from the man who was handling his account was in September. Now he says that man has disappeared.
I tried, I don't know how many times to try to get a hold of him, and then nobody would answer the phone, and the last few times it would just literally hang up.
Mr. Coors isn't alone. The Better Business Bureau says a bunch of others have come forward to complain about Illinois Commonwealth. The Bureau is conducting an investigation right now, so they can't comment on those specific cases. However, a spokesperson from the Bureau says investors should beware of gimmicks that are enticing.
Be very careful about high-pressure sales tactics. You know, the old saying of if it's too good to be true, it usually is. And if they're giving you the line about, now or never, always choose never.
As for Mr. Coors, he doesn't think he'll ever get his money back. He says it's not about the money anymore. He just wants to make sure no one else becomes a victim.
To have the company check out very thoroughly before you invest in it. Call the Better Business Bureau and make sure they are a reputable company.
A valuable lesson with a hefty price to pay. In Pekin, Chastity Maxie, HOI 19 News.